Hello friend, and thank you for joining me here. On this channel we use astrology, tarot, and the I Ching as sources of inspiration for personal insight, journaling, and transformation. I designed and handcrafted a tool that I call the Hexatetraglyph so that seekers like you and I would be able to embark on a 27-day sacred and psychological journey through the symbolic language of 3 ancient divinatory systems. By the end of this miniature pilgrimage, the hope is that we each can gain a little more clarity about who we are and why we do the things we do. Ultimately, this is about the process of individuation. You're welcome to join in at any time, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment or send me a personal email and I'll get back to you directly. My name is Colin, and I'm honored to help guide you on this inner adventure. And with that said, let's get started. Welcome to day 1. The journey begins. So take a look at the hexatetraglyph. You'll see that there's a center pathway. On the center pathway, if you're moving up, you're moving yang. You're moving in a yang direction. If you're moving down, you're moving in a yin direction. Okay, so when you come to the end of this pathway, you've gone from position A to B, C, D, E, F, G, or downwards the same, from A down to G. If you moved down to G, that means you completed the first pathway in the yin direction. All right, so that's going to give you a line of a hexagram, a yin line, a broken line. If you complete it moving up, you're going to get a solid line, a yang line. Now, depending on which way you complete the first pathway, will take you to your second pathway. So if you complete it in a yin direction, you'll be down here. If you complete it in a yang direction, you'll be up here. So after our first 7 days, we will be on the second pathway. Once you're on the second pathway, moving right is yang and moving left is yin. So you'll eventually complete the second pathway. There's 4 possibilities at this point, you see, depending on how you've traveled. You could be over here, or here, or here, here. 4 possibilities. That process just continues. Down is always yin, left is always yin, up is always yang, right is always yang. So let's just see what happens when we complete 6 pathways, all yang. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The hexagram is hexagram 1, pure yang. How about down? Yin, left, yin, down, left, left. Hexagram 2, pure yin. The whole spectrum, 64 hexagrams, are laid out naturally here, depending on the way that you travel. So how do we begin traveling? Well, we need to create some subjective decisions. We have to make it so that you're making choices here. You're categorizing things and you're choosing things. You're allowing yourself to explore your own emotions, inclinations, and just listen to what's calling to you. There's no right or wrong. That's key. Because ultimately this process is going to kind of analyze what you chose and why you chose them. And it's going to give you a hexagram based off of the way you choose things. So you need 6. My Alexa's going off. Okay, you need 6 game pieces. Tokens. Now I sell this board and I sell these tokens together. I'll give you a free PDF. You can print it off yourself and you can make these, because this is for everybody. It's all inclusive, all right? But what we're going to do here is choose 2 of these tokens. These represent the planets. All right, so yellow is the sun, orange is Mercury, white or silver is the moon, green is Venus, red is Mars, this kind of purple indigo is Jupiter, and black is Saturn. I just took those colors off of an old alchemy diagram, an old image from alchemy. You can use more planets if you like. If you like to use the modern planets, that's fine. These are the classical planets. 7 is good enough for what I'm doing here. But we're going to choose 2, okay? Now, I already randomly grabbed 2 earlier in my first take that I tried to film here. I forgot to turn on one of my cameras, so I don't want to randomly choose again. I'm just going to pick the 2 that I had earlier, which was this purple indigo one, which is Jupiter, and this yellow one, which is the sun. So that's my random choice for the day, okay? So we got to classify these 2. The way we classify them is which one is more yang and which one's more yin. So we can take a look at a current chart. You can pull up astrocharts.com if you'd like, or any website that has the current zodiac on it, okay? Chart of the moment, astro charts. Very simple. You can see right now that the sun is in Leo. That's just about as pure yang energy as you could possibly find. So that's a pretty good example of being able to classify something as yang. Now remember, I told you that this pathway, yang is up. So I'm going to put this sun on this upper side. Here's the center point, right? So on the upper side of it, on this first position, A. And I'm going to take Jupiter, which is right now in Cancer. Cancer being a feminine sign, more yin. Jupiter, I'd say, is a pretty yang planet, but the fact that it's in Cancer right now, I would definitely say Jupiter in Cancer is more yin than the sun in Leo, which is just pure masculine yang energy, right? So that's subjective, though. If you disagree with me, fine. You gotta just trust your own gut and just classify the 2 planets. Each day you draw 2 and classify 2. Okay? Then the second subjective decision happens. And this is going to impact movement. This is going to really start to set you in a direction a little bit. Now it accumulates. It's not going to immediately push you on the board, but there's an accumulation that happens here, a calculation where energy accumulates and starts to draw you in one way or another, okay? So here's what it is. Unfortunately, this is a one-way conversation right now. I can't get your feedback. I wish I could. I wish there was 100 of us right now on live chat and we could take a vote. But I've been visualizing this game, this oracle board, whatever you want to call it, for many years, okay? I've came up with some different ideas. This is what I think is my final form. And this is kind of an experiment here. I'm finally doing this for myself. You get to follow along with me. I'm going to continue to do this and work with it. I've tested it enough to know it's going to work. But this is my first time really going through 27 days to do inner work. And I'm being totally authentic here right now. But I'm not going to share everything about my personal life because I don't want to put 27 days of spilling all my deepest, most emotional stuff on the camera. Who would even want to listen to that? And, you know, just no one should really put that much information just out on the internet. But is what I am going to do is I'm going to help you generate questions for your journal and give you material to help answer those questions. We're going to use astrology and we're going to use tarot to do that. And eventually we're going to get to a hexagram and read a little bit out of the I Ching. So we are going to do this process together. I'm going to share some things about my life and who I am. And some things, like, you got to keep some stuff a little bit private, right? But the process is going to be real for me, very real, because I am doing this. I am going to enter things into my journal as I go, and I need to do this inner work. I need to heal from a lot of things and integrate stuff, and that's why I've been designing this for years, so I could do this process. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a planet that I feel will be helpful to me right now, and I hope it's helpful for you too. If you just want to follow along and do your own, draw your own planets, and just stay on pace with me for these 27 days and do it a little different though, that's fine. You can just learn from me and play your own game parallel to mine, right? But I'm going to go ahead and choose the sun. Why? Well, Leo, the sun, those are hard for me, actually, believe it or not. Those are not natural to me. I'm introverted. I don't like to be, I've been in leadership positions in the military. I've been a military officer and a non-commissioned officer, but I don't really want to be in the spotlight. I don't particularly like it, and I'm done with being a leader, and I've been enjoying that. So the sun in Leo, you can just look up what it means. If you're not an astrological expert, as I'm not, you can look it up. You're going to deal with all the signs and all the planets in this process, so it's a good opportunity to learn. I'm going to read out of this book. It's very basic, right? But it's good for something like this because it can give you an idea. Let's just look. The sun through the signs. Leo, you seek to shine your light boldly and brightly, having the capacity to take on a role of leadership. It is important for you to be admired. No. No. So my question is, how can I be a leader? What do I do now that I'm done with the military? I'm not very social. I don't keep a lot of friends or family around me. I don't look to be admired. I'm sharing this because it gives me something to do that I find interesting. But I don't seek out the spotlight, So I'm going to try to craft a question about that, how to understand what leadership is in my life at this point. How do I seek out being admired, or should I? Or these are just strange concepts to me right now. So that's what I'm working with. That's the planet I choose to work with. So what do I do with this one? Jupiter here. I have Jupiter in Cancer. Well, on day one, this unchosen planet does get to still do something. This one time it does. It actually has a special role. It's going to go here in the very center, and it's going to work for a tiebreaker throughout the whole process. Throughout this journey to a hexagram, I need to have a planet that can resolve ties. Sometimes your momentum gets gridlocked. All right, and that can happen at position G. It can happen at position O, at S, and so forth. I call them decision points. At decision points, sometimes your momentum is balanced, and then you can't figure out, am I going to travel on this upper path or this lower one? It's time to decide. Well, this planet will be the deciding factor there. All right, so that's a little bit of almost chaos in the system. Mostly everything is your choices, but this one is sort of like a not choice. It's the one that you didn't go with. There needed to be a tiebreaker in this process, and this is the way that I decided to use it. So this Jupiter in Cancer has kind of a powerful it has sort of a powerful impact on the game, because if I do have tiebreakers, it's either going to drive me down or left. So there is a potential to kind of drive me down or left. I might get through the whole game and never need a tiebreaker. So take a minute and try to come up with a question. I'm going to write a personal question about the sun in Leo. I'm going to try to write something that's clear and private and put it in my journal. And you go ahead and do that same thing. And then we're going to draw 3 tarot cards and try to answer the question, or try to create a narrative. Try to create a story. The 8 of Swords, the 8 of Wands, and the Chariot, which is the 7th card in the Major Arcana. Hopefully you've been able to put together a question, and now it's time to take a look at these cards and see if any sort of narrative starts to take place. Now you could say past, present, future. You could come up with a spread to help you understand the cards. There's many 3-card spreads out there. I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm just going to use intuition. And I'm just going to say, all right, so there's something maybe binding me, confusing me, making me feel as though I've lost my way. But action can come sweeping in. I recognize the Chariot as the soul. It appeals to me because of Plato's tripartite soul, where he describes a chariot. But there's a mystery to it as well with the Sphinx out here. So as what we're going to do is put some keywords up for each of these 3 cards and just try to free associate. Try to write down a little bit of a story on how these cards could help answer that question. This is the first of 26 exercises like this, and on day 27, the I Ching will help us to put all the pieces together. So it might be pretty vague right now. The story should come together more over time. I'm going to take a minute and write in my journal. I definitely see a story here progressing for me. So that is what a day looks like here. We're going to wrap this up by taking these 3 cards and placing them in the top upper corner of the game. The top upper corner represents yang, the bottom left represents yin, and I'm going to track the cards that I play with each day, because those represent momentum of yang energy or yin, which will eventually get compared one to the other. They're kind of competing with each other, the yang and the yin. When we get to G, how many cards we have up here in the top right corner versus how many we have down in the left corner, if we do end up with any in the left corner, we compare those two, and whichever one has the greater number of cards will determine whether we're moving on the upper second pathway or the lower. So that's just a little foreshadowing of what's coming up. Tomorrow we'll draw 2 new planets, and then we will continue this journey. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you're kind of seeing how this is going to play out, or you're getting an idea of how this game works. I just figured the best way to start teaching is to just do it myself as an experiment and let people see how it goes. When this is all said and done and it's all over, I'll try to get some more theory and explain some of the reasons why I built the board the way I did. We'll get into the psychological aspects of it. We can talk about the I Ching. We can talk more about the tarot. You know, we can go into the inner mysteries about the layout, all kinds of things. Why is there 27 days? Well, it takes the moon 27 days to move through the zodiac. 27.3 days. Things like that. You might not catch them right off the bat, but there's a lot built in. And so we will discuss those things. And that'll wrap it up for today. We'll talk to you soon.